Amy, Andy, and Louis are here.
What?
With me, Freddy, for 2023's Hispanic Heritage Month, curated by guest host Louis Fowler. Louis, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
12 years.
So nice. We were talking about...
Is it the 12th year? Really?
Yeah, because we've been doing on Origins, which is something you can get at our Patreon. We've been doing the first month, and we are 12 years behind.
So does that mean this is the 13th
well,
time?
fuck if I know.
I think this is the 13th month, or 13th year that you've come back to curate.
Did you have to?
I think.
It's amazing.
You had to make sure you corrected me?
Yeah.
Make sure the woman gets corrected.
Make sure that you feel small, too.
But I was wrong, probably. Anyway.
No, yeah, it's wild, though. It just feels like a blink of an eye to me.
Kelley's on assignment.
He's on assignment. He's kicking it.
And, yeah.
Yeah. I love the choice for this week's main attraction. We'll get into that soon.
Dinosaur pajamas.
But I wanted to welcome any new listeners. If anybody is new, hang with us. We do this every week. The first segment's called Straight-to-Video Russian Roulette, which this week Andy, I think, has, right?
Yes, it did.
What was it called?
The Sixth Secret.
Oh, that's right.
Sure.
The Sixth Secret. So we'll hear about that. We'll hear about Lewis's pick. But first, Louis, what have you been doing? We've had you on since last Hispanic Heritage Month, but what have you been doing in the intro?
Well, Indigenous Month.
We did Indigenous too.
Yeah. Just writing and just healing.
Yeah.
I can. Your voice sounds better, Louis.
Well, thank you. It comes and goes. But the only reason why I continue to heal is because I want to do this show. It's the only reason why. Really, my reason to live. So,
are you being serious right now? Because I'm going to be real sad for you. It's like, where is your dog? Is he hearing this?
So you know. Just so you know, if you guys.
So we can never end the show.
Yep.
So if we keep doing the show, it's like Dorian Gray or something.
It's Dorian Gray. It keeps all of us slightly younger. I really do believe that. Not much, but it keeps death at bay. I believe
it's like a Dorian Gray type of visage we have throughout the whole show.
Did you imagine how much class would be lost from that story if it was just old podcasts in the attic? Instead of a painting?
It's like an old hard drive or something.
Yeah, just a hard drive, and somebody's on there going, "This was stupid. I didn't know what it wanted to be. A movie was a fifth character.
Fear of clowns.
A city
Scale.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of, I wanted to say, Kevin Kangas, our buddy who directed Fear of Clowns, has a new book coming out in a couple of weeks called October Screams, a Halloween anthology. It's got stories by Brian Keene, Richard Chismar, Jim Moore, a bunch of authors contributed to the anthology, and that's right up my alley. But he sent us a advanced copy, which I'm really excited to check out.
But
so
more
thank you, Kevin.
importantly than this book, October Screams. I'm kidding, not more importantly, but like a little bit. Is he sent some Halloween toys with it?
Yeah, remember those goodie bags that you get sometimes from certain houses that don't believe in candy? You get the
fucking weird houses.
You get the little toys with like stickers and those vampire teeth and witch fingers.
It's a witch finger. Remember the plastic witch fingers? You can put it over your finger like a bugle, but like it's a finger.
Those always remind me of Freddy's Revenge, where the little girl has all the ones from the cereal box. And they're like supposed to, I think, bring Freddy's glove to mind, but it's just a bunch of those witch fingers. And she's like, eh. And Jesse's freaking out because he's like, oh, it reminds me of Freddy Krueger.
Interesting accent you picked for him.
I know.
Freddy Krueger.
Freddy Krueger. Oh, he's horrible. He's all burned up.
Like, seriously, it's like a little Halloween flavored goodie bag with like a little pumpkin on a top, little plastic top.
Spin a top. That's
an
a Halloween dreidel.
It's a whistle shaped like an ear.
Yeah, to be fair though, I didn't really know Kevin Kangas was still
Alive?
Out there.
He's still out there. Yeah. He's alive. He's kicking.
He's still out there.
Still creating. He's out there.
You made it sound like a serial killer.
Lock your doors, Kevin King.
They never found him.
There.
I remember just gutter balls.
Well, that's Nicholson.
No, don't. Yes. Don't.
Now, Ryan Nicholson actually passed away.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, he had brain cancer, unfortunately. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but he did Gutterballs, which I think I was the only person that liked that movie. But
so what we're referencing right now,
our first year,
very like early NOTLP lore. It's in the.
They know that they know that if they listened to the Origins.
That's right.
If you were a patron, if you went to patreon.com/NOTLP, we post bonus content there. One of those things being a weekly Origins where we go back and listen to an episode from 12 years prior, put our present day apologies in, and then Bob's your uncle. So everything's there.
Yeah, we do that and top.
So Ryan Nicholson, he's dead.
Yes.
And what was the one with Kevin King?
He was Fear of Clowns and more famously Hunting Humans because there was that serial killer that had Hunting Humans found amongst his accoutrement.
Which, if I was Kevin, that would be on my tombstone.
Yeah, he'd be like, one of my movies was found amongst the serial killer's property. That really gave me chills when I heard that. Yeah, it was creepy as hell. But anyways,
I love these old style like Halloween plastic toys.
They're very cool.
It's like when you talk about keeping me young.
Well, Patreon's how we pay a majority of our costs. So if you want to support the show, patreon.com/NOTLP is the best place to do that. Or share this with friends. Sign up for our newsletter. We send a newsletter every 4 weeks. And you can spread that around all your friends. Get the word out. We've been doing this a very, very long time. And sometimes we forget to try to bring new listeners in because we are so in love with the ones we already have.
And a lot of ours are dying off because we've been doing this so long.
And we send them poison in the mail. Yeah.
So this is like 13 years I've been doing this.
Yep.
So about how more are you
like the total years? 17
so,
this year, right?
Yeah, 17. Yeah. It's crazy.
We could have had a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they would be graduating high school.
Ew.
Yeah.
Instead, but I'm glad we did this. I prefer this.
I much prefer a podcast, baby.
Yeah. This podcast is not addicted to any hard drugs. It doesn't talk back. I mean, it does, but only it's only telling me things I need to hear. Let's be honest.
It'd be like the recap show of you guys.
You guys got to hear the origins intro. Anyway. Where were we? What were we talking about?
Before Patreon, we were teasing. We are doing Hispanic Heritage Month, which Louis curates the movies for. What is the main attraction for this week, and why did you pick it, Louis?
It's called Don't Panic. And in the late 80s, they were trying to get more exposure in the films, and they tried. It doesn't really work with this movie.
Do you mean like as in Mexican filmmakers?
Yeah,
are trying to break into the American mainstream.
Exactly, and we'll talk about it, but it's a movie that people are that don't really like it, but they really don't like it,
Right. So it's a double-edged sword.
It's a very imperfect movie.
Yeah.
It's campy.
It's so precious in so many ways, but we'll get there. So for the banter, can I introduce banter?
Introduce banter.
Is that how we do that?
Now is the time for romance. Let's break out the roses.
I was reading the CNN homepage today, and apparently a plane that took off from Atlanta and was heading to Barcelona So these are people going to like maybe a beautiful vacation.
Is this the doo-doo man?
The doo-doo man.
Like this is a once in a lifetime trip for probably people on this plane, and they had to turn back because somebody had diarrhea up and down the aisles.
Oh, the doo-doo
All
man.
over the plane.
Up and down? Not just, it was both ways.
It was throughout the plane.
Do you know the doo-doo man? The doo-doo man who lives on Delta planes?
It was a Delta flight.
Was he like seated in the front of the plane and he had to go to all the way to the back?
Oh, God.
I don't understand how they're actually able to, like you said, truck it through there. I mean, if that happened to me, I would be in one. I would not get off of the plane till that moment.
Yeah.
You have to be someone to really to get the attention.
Well,
the fecal attention.
Well, okay. Who here has had diarrhea on a plane? Because I can speak to this.
I've been lucky enough not to.
Was yours up and down the aisles, or was it localized?
This was Paris, probably.
When my mom and I went to Europe, we went to London, and then we spent a week in London and then a week in Paris, and I got food poisoning on the way home. It was just coming out of me whether I was allowing it or not. It was that bad. I was on antibiotics. It was terrible. Thanks, little pub near the British Museum. You suck. Anyway, like it was, but I was wearing pants and underwear, so I don't know how it just dribbles up and down the aisle.
Oh, you mean that didn't happen to you?
No, I was wearing pants and underwear,
Right.
so I was able to contain any leakage.
You think it would be like brewing a pot of coffee because the underwear is like a filter, and that it would just be like, no, it'd still be diarrhea.
So it's pure diarrhea. It's not.
It wouldn't be any better.
It filtered through the chaff.
How many filters would it take for it to be an acceptable substance? A lot. It would take a lot more filters than anybody's
Like,
pants has in them.
Until it runs clear.
Yeah.
I just feel so bad. Okay, that person probably was very ill.
Yeah.
And this was a horrible moment for them.
What if this
and
is
it is
someone...
on the homepage of CNN. Now, they haven't like released who it is. But like you have to know that somebody could find out at any moment.
In this age of social media where everybody's recording everything,
Yeah.
you see plane freakouts all the time. We saw a girl got beat up at a Morgan Wallen concert in front of a porta potty.
In the porta potty.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's video of this
I hope not.
guy going to the bathroom up and down the aisle somewhere, right?
Wouldn't it be great if the lady who said that motherfucker is not real was just covering for somebody with diarrhea leaking out of them? She's like, don't worry, I got you.
That's a good friend right there.
Yeah, that would be like the world's greatest friend. She'd be like, I know exactly how to get distracted from this scenario right here.
I don't think anybody can
This
distract.
woman is like
Shapeshifter
making
lizard
money
people.
off of that now. Like
Yeah.
she is like, you could probably buy a cameo from her.
Well, then the doo-doo man can make money off of this.
Yeah, he could.
I'm just saying.
Diarrhea Dan from the Delta.
Maybe there's a cameo where you have diarrhea down where you go. You go do it live.
Do a cameo.
Oh, the cameo
diarrhea.
while you're diarrheaing?
You're like,
Well, yeah, I think that Diarrhea Man has to know.
I heard somebody has a birthday.
It's like being a one-hit wonder and having to constantly play that same song at county fairs.
But you know what I imagine? You know how in movies, like where somebody throws up and it causes a chain reaction of other people throwing up?
Yeah.
It doesn't work with diarrhea.
It doesn't. Like,
Have you ever had diarrhea and then like somebody in your presence got? Well, that's called being sick.
yeah.
Dear diarrhea guy, I was just wondering, my friend's been real sick, and I was just wondering if you could make a cameo, just a shout out for him. He's a huge
A
fan.
shout out?
A shout out.
Take a shit out.
You guys, this is really juvenile beneath us. Just kidding.
Then let's watch it. I would love that. Give me a cameo from Doo-Doo Man.
Doo-doo man.
You want it from that motherfucker's not real?
If you're listening, Doo-Doo Man, we got $1 million idea for you.
For your next song, you should call it a cameo from Doo-Doo Man.
Cameo von Doo-doo man. He's the dirtiest doo-doo man. This side.
So how far were they?
Afghanistan.
How far were into the flight before they had to turn around?
They said that it took them. They only got like 2 hours out. So not very far at all.
So there's still like 2 hours of being in a plane full of doo-doo.
Do you think they still try to sell the credit card to get the miles to everybody?
If like they didn't give everybody free, like, fucking Bloody Marys in a can.
Yeah. But, it's even worse. It's usually people coming from someplace than actually leaving to a place. Right. So they knew when they were in the airport, they had diarrhea.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like, 2 hours and you have it. Mm-hmm. You have it throughout the day.
You came pre-loaded.
You don't think anybody ever got blindsided by diarrhea on a flight?
I don't think so.
No, maybe. I mean, what if they're one of those people that's like, oh, this airport has smash burger.
Oh.
We almost missed a flight because of that.
We almost missed a flight because of smash burger.
Well, there was the guy when I was coming back from Boston who gets on the plane with like a fucking full-ass lobster from that place where you can buy lobster in the fucking airport. And it stinks to high goddamn heaven.
Lobster.
And I thought I was gonna start throwing up.
I think you need at least an hour before you get sick. You can't. It's gotta be.
Yeah, he was planned.
You got time.
Lewis is like there was a second shooter.
I don't know. What would I do? I'd be like, fuck, I've been waiting for this vacation my whole life. This is my first time going abroad. I'm going to meet my 90-day fiance. I don't know. I'm just making shit up. All these ideas. And I would be like, I'm getting on the plane.
Like, I'm super nervous. My stomach is making noises. My pants are making colors. Yeah.
See, okay. So if you do it, it's if you have a surface on the seat, you're good. You're
saying stay there.
Yeah.
Don't get up and move.
Yeah.
Well, I hope he had an aisle seat. What if he had a window seat?
I mean, you're probably...
He had to step over his seatmates to do that.
Before we move on, just one other thing on diarrhea that you guys just reminded me of.
Oh, we're not moving on.
It's just going to be diarrhea the rest of the show.
We live in Doo-Doo Man in this world now.
We went to high school with somebody I knew who shit their pants in the first part of the day.
I remember it.
And he told me about it at lunch and showed me that he still had shit all over him at lunch. All over his back of his pants. And he was like, oh, well, what are you going to do? I'm like, I change.
So he didn't make an attempt to clean up the doo-doo?
He had shit on him for like 3 or 4 hours at that point. He was just resigned to having shit all over himself.
He was stoned out of his mind.
He was stoned out of his mind.
Yeah.
Was he not going home or anything?
He's like, I haven't been home in years. It turned into planes, trains, and automobiles.
Hey, Mama. I bet shit myself.
My little baby shit himself again. Oh,
I need you to pick me up.
Do you need me to bring you some underwears?
He didn't care enough to even try that.
He didn't have to wear the lost and found shorts that they
He didn't have to have his dirty underwear put in use.
Think about how much diarrhea you deal with as an educator. A lot more than the average person, I bet. And that's why you need to pay teachers more among many other reasons. You know?
So the moral of the story, I think, is if anybody was like, oh my God, I'm going to take a video of this dude leaking diarrhea out of him so I can post it on the internet, you are a bad person. Don't do that. If somebody's having a bad day, leave him alone. I hope this person is never found out.
You try to cover for him. That's what a good person does.
Right.
You're like, look, I see what you've done, but it's going to stay between us.
Yeah, you cover for him by taking an even bigger turd.
Be like, oh no, I spilled chili everywhere.
It's a kind of protection racket. You just look for people that might have diarrhea, and you're like, look, you have a sterling reputation. It'd be a shame if something happened to it. I don't know if you noticed or not, but this particular airport has smash burger.
Or what if it was like Spartacus? Like who did this? And everybody started shitting. It's like, I am Doo-Doo Man.
All right, let's move on to Andy's movie. I think it might be a frugal thing to do.
Frugal?
I don't know what I'm saying.
Boys and girls, it's time for Straight-to-Video Russian Roulette.
I have no idea why I used the word frugal just
Metaphorically
then.
frugal?
I think frugal with time is what I meant. Maybe. I don't know. I didn't want to rob Andy of his opportunity to really get into whatever nitty gritty detail he wanted to about what was it called again?
The Sixth Secret.
The Secret.
Give us all the nitties
Sixth Secret.
and the gritties.
Starring Sylvester Stallone and Stacey Spacek.
With Bethel Geth.
Give us the nitty gritty with your titties.
The Sixth Secret. I liked it, but a lot of people aren't going to like it. It's just a lot of people talking. I don't even know it's a horror movie, really.
Oh, really?
It's like a parlor mystery where a bunch of people are gathered into a room for a seance. And, it's not really a seance because it's like a scam. So it's just a bunch of people backstabbing each other and people talking about it.
Like Clue.
But there's no action at all. They're like most of the time they're literally sitting at the table talking.
So
that's kind of cool though.
There's
I like
just
those.
that, and you liked it. Does that mean the acting's strong?
Yes, it is. Well, it's uneven.
Oh.
There are certain performances that certainly come across as better.
Shitty spaceship, for instance.
Everybody's dedicated. I will say that. Some are dedicated to their good acting, and some are dedicated to their not so good acting. So it's good for them for trying.
Is there any stars of note?
No. This is a Tubi movie, so I don't think they have money for stars yet.
They've had some interesting characters.
Oh, they did the
You'll
Jerry
see-
O'Connell movie, didn't they?
Yeah, they did Jerry O'Connell too.
Yeah, I think I picked another one, and I think it has a person in it.
Yes,
I saw a Jerry O'Connell movie on Tubi. It's about a woman who tried to get sperm.
I watch a lot of movies like that.
Well, he tries to get sperm, and it's wacky.
I love a wacky sperm caper.
I bet certain vitals get spilled in that movie, right? It
Whoa,
probably gets on people.
The Three Stooges should have done a sperm bank movie.
There should be the box should say a wacky sperm comedy.
Do you want to do that? Do you guys want to? Why don't we start a Kickstarter to make
A wacky sperm comedy?
a sperm comedy with approximations of the Three Stooges as the leads, and they get the job in the sperm bank because it's the New Depression era, right? Right now is the New Depression, so like it makes sense to bring the Stooges back to cheer some people up.
And what better way to do it is with sperm
bank humor. Just can't you see Curly carrying just like big boxes full of like fragile glass containers full of semen, and Larry and Moe are like they're trying to figure out what to have for lunch. There could be so many mix-ups and
he's
physical.
he's approaching
bits.
a hallway full of marbles.
A whole bunch of marbles got spilled out. Yeah, some kid came to visit. It'd be a great movie.
And the vials all go spilling in the air, and he has to catch them.
Or you could go smarter and do it as the Marx Brothers, and then it's more of a dialogue-driven kind of comedy.
He drinks some of the sperm, and he's where he's doing the thing.
Yeah, wise guy. Huh? Yeah, and then or you could do the Marx Brothers, and it's just Groucho has a bunch of it in his mustache.
Is dripping off.
Yeah.
So the Sixth Secret, I like it because it has almost like a film noir vibe to it. Maybe it's because of the era set in. I don't know. Maybe that's why.
I love all you have to say
like
to me is
40s,
parlor seance, 40s, and I'm like, fuck yeah, just give it
When
to me.
you said 40s, I imagine Mount Everest and not like the era. So you were like parlor mysteries, parlors, 40s.
Oh, like a Steel Reserve, drinks,
like a malt
40
liquor 40
ounce.
Yeah.
So I think I liked it because this type of movie just speaks to me. So you're kind of predisposed to liking certain things. Mm-hmm. So I give it a pass to an extent because this is right up my alley.
Didn't you watch Brooklyn 45?
Yes, that was really good too. Is that my thing now? I watch parlor mysteries.
Like parlor mysteries, seance
but
movies?
maybe.
This is not as strong as Brooklyn 45.
I think you should on your profile you say parlor mysteries.
That's it. Not my name at all. Just Parlor Mysteries.
You get a southern accent.
Paula
I do prefer
Mysteries.
call mysteries.
I'm just doing Paula mysteries now.
Paula.
I do.
Paula
I like
mysteries.
Paler mysteries.
Paula Mysteries.
That's a drag name.
That is a good one.
Coming to the stage.
Paula Mysteries.
Mysteries.
You know what a Paler mystery is? Is like, why do I look so ill? Sometimes I look ill. You're like, that's a Paler mystery.
So you're figuring out why you're sick.
Why I'm sick,
Yeah.
and then you look in your cabinets, and you're like, that's why.
It turns out you have diarrhea on a plane.
It's just diarrhea.
Does somebody want to do a pillar mystery for me? What would that be?
It's just on it's really high. You can't reach it.
What's on top of that pillar up there?
We just choose different
pillar
rooms
mystery.
too. Bathroom mysteries.
All right, Andy.
It's like I said, it's not going to be for everybody because not a lot happens.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of people. They're talking and describing what they did. It's because everybody's backstabbing each other, and I like that. Of how like everybody's
Like Ready or Not. Remember that?
Yeah, everybody's like revealing. It's a lot of speechifying of how they did this scheme and everything, and
Knives Out.
yeah.
Knives Out. Yeah.
So it's for me, but I can definitely see why people are not going to like this.
Yeah.
And there are it takes a while to get where it's going. It's a lot of filler. This could have probably been easily like a BBC mystery, like an hour show. Not even an hour because there's like 45 minutes or,
Right.
It could have been compacted, and it did have that look.
Father Dowling.
Yeah, it did have that look of a BBC 70s TV thing. I like
love
that.
that.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that look of
too.
it.
Nostalgia.
So the Sixth Sense is for me.
Secret.
Secrets.
The
Yeah.
thick
Sixth
secret.
Sense is a movie by M. Night Shyamalan.
You're being silly, guys.
You're
Sorry, I
silly,
think it was
Freddy.
That's because that movie title was just so well
It
known.
is, yeah.
It probably just seeped into my memory.
Do you think
The Sixth Secret I recommend for me, but not for thee.
anyone ever named their child Succotash because they knew they had a life of suffering ahead of them?
That's sad though. Why would they know that they have a life of suffering?
I don't know why. It is sad. It is sad.
They're a orphan. We're in a workhouse.
Yep. I'm gonna name you Succotash.
Are you just coming up with some kind of thing to be sad about?
Poor suffering Succotash.
Oh, I hate you so much. I know.
Well, with a name like Succotash, of course they're going to have
He's
a
doing a
They're gonna have a
Sylvester
harder life.
the
Yeah,
cat,
probably.
right?
Sylvester.
Yeah.
He's a
All
cartoon
right.
character.
This is my daughter, Succotash.
I don't know what to do anymore, guys.
Isn't she beautiful?
Succotash. I let her
went-
suck my tash. Is all I'm saying.
That's why she's suffering.
That is why she's suffering.
So I went back to the Tubi well for next week's movie. Louis says, we're putting you in? You in?
I guess.
All right.
Love to see what happened.
It's on Tubi, which is free. So let me know if you can.
All right, so we've got 4 in. So that's exciting.
Oh,
This is the best odds we've ever had. All right, you go ahead.
The movie is called The Outwaters. 4 travelers encounter menacing phenomena while camping in a remote stretch of the Mojave Desert. It is a found footage movie, and I think it might have aliens in it, which is kind of fun with, all the disclosure stuff and Rush.
They're having a moment right now.
Aliens are really on trend.
I think I've heard this
now?
one's good.
And, aliens are really, we're alien girlies. So,
You
Yeah,
ready to-
water.
To be fair though, it's on Tubi, so
That's true.
well,
I like the
damn
one
it.
Kelly and I watched a couple of good ones.
There's some good shit out there.
They are all super low budget. You want to do it, Amy? I saw your finger. You want to do it? Yeah. You're so close.
All right.
There you go.
Okay. We're spinning the wheel. Louis, are you so sad you said yes?
I'm fine.
It's you. I'll send this to you. We'll send this to you to remind you, but it's called The Outwaters.
Okay, it's on Tubi.
To be or not to be? You gotta wear your tube top when you watch.
That's the new rule, by the way. You didn't know about that, but you have to wear
It's
a tube
new.
top when you watch it, and then you got to take a picture of yourself with the newspaper.
Well, I've been doing that for many years.
That is a specific routine. Very strange. All right.
Yeah.
lights, it's the main attraction.
Oh boy, this week's main attraction is from 1980. Don't Panic, from Mexico City. Siri, of course you didn't understand it because I was bluffing. I forgot what year it was made. I think it was it 90?
87.
80, no, it was like 86, I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
87.
87, all right.
Yeah.
Director, was it
Ruben Galindo Jr.?
Ruben Galindo
Ruben.
Jr.
Thank you. Really fun.
I think this movie is a camp classic.
It's a pastiche of everything that America was doing with horror movies, but all stitched together.
It gave me a Giallo feel too.
A little bit of that.
It's like everything they were doing like 10 years before.
Right. Yeah.
It's like they were late to the show, I feel.
They're like Cincinnati, according to Mark Twain.
Yeah. We're going to say Don't
Allegedly.
Panic is to A Nightmare on Elm Street as Mark Twain is to Cincinnati. That doesn't, I don't think it, I mean, it kind of makes sense to me.
When did Nightmare come out? 85?
84.
84.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that came out 3 years before this movie came out. There's touches of all those like occult movies from the 70s. There's, yeah, for sure a little Giallo in there. And then there's those darling little fucking pajamas.
Which were a weird choice, but also they were a very deliberate choice. Like they said they did that to make him look more naive and like childlike. And
But then they let him fuck.
But first of all, I said this earlier. You didn't like it, but the guy looks 45.
No, okay, Louis, everybody in the 80s looked older. The 80s were an old
He
time.
looks like Ian Ziering.
Yeah.
Well, either way, those are pajamas like a 12-year-old will wear.
Mm-hmm.
right, they had dinosaurs.
I was just wondering, like, how
The
they
thing is
did they buy them? Like, are they made for children or are they made for adults?
He bought them from
he
like
was
Walmart.
small.
They said.
He was a small man.
Was he? Oh,
he was a
okay.
tinier man.
Yeah, he was pretty small.
Probably in the 80s, though, that was like the height of fashion at the time.
It was sleepwear that they would put on a runway anywhere.
I mean, he's a 17-year-old high school student. His got a bad home life. Mom's an alcoholic, I guess. He then gets with this girl later.
She likes to have a drink,
Yes.
but she's not a bad alcoholic.
She's still functioning. She's still doing all right. But
You
it
think
could
they-
slip out of control at
You
any
think
moment.
they cribbed this from Nightmare?
Oh, definitely.
All of it.
Because that was like a thing in the 80s, like
in
alcoholic
culture,
parents.
in Mexican culture, though, that's fine.
Right? Yeah, in Mexican culture, you said like it's a different standard
Well,
of.
yeah, you think like Italy and like France, it's like drinking with every meal is fine.
Yeah.
And over here, we'd be like, what are you doing, you alcoholic?
Although we have become that way here too now.
But the point I was trying to make is he's 17. He's in high school. He has sex with his girlfriend later, and she's like, that was my first time. He doesn't go, me too. So apparently he's been out there slinging it around, but they have to put dinosaur pajamas on him
That's how he gets
to
all the
make
pussy.
him look naive.
Yeah. To make him look naive and childlike.
Well, he does behave like an asshole, but
John Michael Bischoff.
you know.
Also,
Who-
too, I noticed that even after his party's done, all of a sudden, all his close friends show up to. I don't really understand what the.
Yes. Any of it?
Why they like each other?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Because
Half bullies,
That was-
half friends, right?
yeah, exactly.
Have you seen the new movie that Talk to Me?
Yeah.
You haven't. It is surprisingly similar to Don't Panic in some respects, but really good. It's really crafted and thoughtfully put together.
It's
whereas
good in a
Don't
different
Panic,
way.
it's different. But the story is very very
Good
similar
in the regular way
Yeah.
that
And,
you would think.
the
Mainstream way.
in the mainstream way. But I got a similar vibe from this group of they had clearly already had a really bad experience with a Ouija board that happens off screen.
And that's never really fleshed out at all.
No.
There's suggestions of it, like Virgil. Who the fuck is Virgil?
It's
Yeah.
Satan.
Virgil is the devil.
Is that? But I didn't know
he was using it was they were ripping off Witchboard there because the folds. See, the thing is, what they pulled from Witchboard was that it doesn't always tell the truth what you're communicating on the board, and that was the trope in Witchboard is it was pretending to be this little boy, and it was Malfador who was like an agent of evil, and that's in this movie it's the same concept.
I was just expecting a bigger backstory of this.
Yeah,
Witchboard though was Witchboard. I think it was like 87.
I'm not sure.
Or
Let me
88.
see.
they did both have blonde male leads that were bratty and had bad hair.
Witchboard was 86. So
Okay.
I guess that had been just the year before Don't Panic came out. But yeah, they did cobble together so many bits from other movies. And then it's like if they put them all through the lens of Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2. It's like if they cut every horror movie from 80 to 86, little bits of them, and then they said, let's process these through the Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2 lens.
Well, it's funny you bring up it's like a mashup of everything. I compare it to like if AI wrote a horror movie.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the dialogue was so stilted and repetitive.
Well, the thing about that, okay, if you watch the movie, there's two versions of the movie. There's the original Spanish, and it's kind of deeper, the way the expressions. But the other one, they had an English dub. And the guy there, he seems very he seems kind of naive and
More timid.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see how they do look next to each other, because we watched the English version, obviously, but we watched it with Joe Bob, and he was saying, they did it English first, then a Spanish take. And I'd be interested to see kind of how the performances changed, because were they more comfortable?
They're all bilingual actors too. That's the important thing to point out. It's odd. I think Dracula is the only other one where they did the whole movie twice, like that. So like they did one version in English and then another in Spanish. But yeah, it had to affect, because not everybody could have been super comfortable in both languages, right? Maybe they could have. I don't know.
I wonder how I'd like to see the Spanish version and see the Spanish language version and see.
I know that culturally, I feel like there's some stuff there where the guys are super sweet to each other. When he gives them the rose, where you wouldn't have seen that in an American movie at the time without one of them like busting the other one's balls for it.
But before, when he finds his friend Tony like throwing up in the bathroom, they're kind of real jerks to each other. It's like a big tonal shifts.
Of how they treat each other.
They're assholes to each other, but then they're really.
But
like,
that's
nice
kind of like real life.
Yeah.
We all do that to each other in this room sometimes.
I also too. I want to talk about the theme song.
Oh yeah.
Don't panic. That was stuck in my head for a little bit.
I'm not sure. I don't know if that was bilingual, but I thought that was a great theme song.
That's the lead actor singing that, right?
Yeah. But I mean, I wish more. There were more themes, because we
don't do that anymore.
Driving in the night.
Well, and it was catchy, and I like that they also it's another thing they were kind of cribbing from like Nightmare on Elm Street. Remember that? Is this a nightmare? No, it's a dream. It's a dream. They had that whole musical number at the end of that movie too. And you would have to be very tongue in cheek nowadays for an audience not to laugh at that. At the time, I don't know if we thought it was funny even at the time, or if it just felt natural.
Theme songs were a big thing back then.
Yeah.
Soundtracks
in the early 90s, and then it petered out, I feel like.
but it is kind of a fun thing. I'd love to see come back, but I guess like you got to make that decision on.
Did Barbie have a song called Barbie on the soundtrack?
Barbie Girl is on the soundtrack.
There was a song specifically for Ken. I think it was
Ken.
Yeah, I think I'm not keen enough for Ken-uff.
Can you remember the name?
No. Anyway, so I was like surprised at how good some of these effects were in this movie.
Screaming Mad George. Remember he did Society. I think, right?
That TV bit where like the guys like coming out the TV.
Yeah,
that was really neat.
He remember he's the guy who made the butthole that talks from Society, so he's top shelf.
I mean, the effects are really pretty good for. It seemed more like an effects reel more than a film.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was uneven effects because like there were some really good effects with the TV and that guy being stabbed through his chin. But there were also scenes where like somebody's being stabbed off camera. Like you don't see the stabbing; all you see is blood just being splattered on them.
They ran out of money that day.
They spent it all on like certain effects.
Am I conflating this with another movie we may have watched? Because sometimes I do that. Was somebody stabbed through the back of the head and their eyeball popped out on the end of the knife? Was that this movie or something else I was watching?
That was this.
Something else.
Wasn't it? Didn't that happen?
Stab through the head, pop out
that
the
was
eye? What were we watching?
that was House by the Cemetery.
Fuck, never mind.
Wait, this is what happens.
That was cool, man. That was a good
We
thing.
watched too many horror movies.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, House by the Cemetery had the eyeball popping out.
And smoked too much weed.
But
Yeah.
So the sequence, the whole sequence where he's in the pajamas.
Which sequence? He was in the pajamas the whole time.
He changed a little bit here and there.
Yeah, because after one murder, he went to his friend's house and got new pants or whatever.
Right.
But he kept the dinosaur shirt.
But he got the guy, his friend, to get another guy that is in the car.
The shotgun fella?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Their buddy who has a shotgun and who is fed up with this bullshit, to put it lightly.
This is Christie's brother, right?
Yeah. He is like upset that
his sister got murdered in front of him.
and he thinks maybe he did it.
What's our main dude's name?
Oh, Michael, right?
Michael.
Yeah.
He's like gifted the ability to see like visions and is warned to save people and saves no one.
Like he sees what the he sees what the killer sees, right?
His visions are not from. He can't do both of them.
Right.
He sees the visions in his mind, but not things that are around him.
Right.
So he goes blind.
Yeah.
Essentially, when he
But
sees the visions.
He also is like, he dreams things, like the teacher in the classroom is telling him, you got to save her by midnight or something.
Their little nightmare moment. The one who started bleeding in the classroom. That was kind of cool.
It was a cool moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, Michael does a shit job.
You know what it reminded me of? Those moments remind me of Brain Scan, where, he gets in. You remember Brain Scan with Eddie Furlong, and he gets into the game and he'll experience like this first person experience of the murder happening. And then, but it reminds me a lot. I'm willing to bet whoever wrote Brain Scan was probably a fan of Don't Panic. It kind of has a lot of the same little bits of tropes in it.
Don't panic.
Well, I'm just still confused at like
where'd the dagger come from?
The dagger and why Tony, like because it's implied that they had a bad seance thing before.
Tony got possessed,
and it was just never fleshed out. Like it was confusing why Tony was possessed and how he can see, like Michael can see what the killer's doing. Well, that doesn't really need to be, but fleshed out and explained. But I would just like some.
In these movies, I mean that it's never really fleshed out. It's a contrivance they have. They don't have. They don't really have it. Well.
They don't do any exposition, really.
Yeah.
Hell no.
It's just there.
I don't think they wrote it. like all the way out, you know.
But there's also a trust and believe kind of thing, and I because we really have been mainlining bad horror movies, but also movies that are, well, if they're considered bad horror movies, but really a lot of times it's just a different starting point for people. Like some people think you already live in a world where these things are happening, and to skip the exposition feels more natural for people who are already like, oh, of course that's what happened. It's as natural as like somebody buying a car and then the next scene is the car breaking down, and that's the comedy. But they're like, I don't need to see them buy the car. I know they just got a brand new car. It looks new. It shouldn't be breaking down.
Okay.
You know, it's like most people are like, you know, there's a Ouija board here. He's already upset. I don't need to see the other scene where he's, you know, why he's upset. Just insinuate some things. Sure, I can handle it. I'm a grown up. I have object permanence.
Done?
Well, it plays to people who know this stuff. So it's not, like normies aren't going to understand this movie at all.
It's not coherent.
Yeah. Well, also too, the one thing I did like was I liked the downer ending.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, he dies. You know, and at the end, you know, the girlfriend goes to the funeral, and you know he looks up and there's a spirit, you know, you know, and then she starts to, don't panic.
I know.
Yeah.
The least appropriate song to start playing during such an emotional beat.
But also think about it. He just died, and it's kind of like, hey, it's like she's singing to him, don't panic. It's okay to be dead. We're going to do dead people stuff now. It's going to be awesome. I know a guy who has this club, plays pretty good music.
Well, I think then there was the whole mom subplot, which was weird.
I mean, okay, she kind of like has a couple of drinks. Then the dad's there. And he's like, you know, you never for us, you never for us, and that kind of like all just disappears.
Well, I think it's because they were trying to reference so many horror movies.
It's like, stop trying to ground this movie. It doesn't need to be.
Well, they just threw everything in from every horror movie they could. So they thought, like, this was in this movie, so let's just throw it in.
Didn't it kind of feel like the angry phone call from The Exorcist between Ellen Burstyn and her absentee husband or ex or whatever? Like it felt it was like another thing where they're like, horror movies, they have, when the parents are split up, there's that contentious moment. You don't care about our child, even though he's been through a supernatural crisis.
And he worked
and I feel like they saw Poltergeist, like, there's somebody in TV, that's cool.
Yeah.
Let's throw that in, because there was, like I said, I referenced the TV scene. That was really neat.
Wouldn't it be funny if there was a moment where a critter just walked into the scene and then they realized it was overkill and he just backed out again?
Remember, like, his friends were meeting him, like, surprising him with the Ouija board, and they kept popping up like ghoulies.
Yeah.
That's what it reminded me of, or Freaks. They just popped up from every little nook and crevice.
But dude, we're like naming off all these things that we love that they tried to put into the movie, and somehow in other movies I'd be like, why are you doing this? In this one, it was kind of adorable.
Well, now there's so much less. If you look back at this era, right, there's so much less resources to really, and information even to work with, that it's the fact that someone in Mexico City made a movie that's just cobbled together pieces of a lot of like American horror movies is really like, that person made a connection in a more difficult way. So like, I value that creation more, you know?
But you know, it's like I think this is also more a cultural thing, because you guys, you're from, you're up north, and it's, wow, this is a great film. This is, but I feel like being around there, it's like, it was a terrible film. And I appreciate it for what it represents, and for the time, but I think it was kind of a drecky piece.
But it wasn't intentionally bad at all.
Yeah,
Like it was very sincerely.
I loved how they tried.
It seemed like they didn't do it out of love.
Right.
They did it for all these movies. They want to make dollars off of it.
Oh yeah, to try to break into a different kind of filmmaking.
Yeah. I'm in such a my whole film taste right now is bad movies. Like I don't want anything real. So it's I'm sincere when I kind of liked this movie.
Yeah, I liked it. It's
because I'm just into that right now.
It was almost like a love letter to 80s and 70s movies.
I appreciate what it was trying to do.
Like I said, I liked it.
It's a bad movie though. Objectively, it's bad.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
no, for sure.
If you put it up against any contemporary mainstream, really but it all depends. It's so subjective. Like
I don't know. We just saw. So we just went and saw The Goonies in the theater because it was doing one of those flashback things.
Yeah.
And when I was watching it this time, I'm like, this movie truly will do whatever.
Yeah.
And somehow magically pull off real suspension of disbelief, and nobody really cares and points out the holes and the weird shit that is going on in Goonies. It's just about what you will tolerate and how well it is
it's a trade-off.
Given to you.
Yeah, it's definitely a balancing act.
Well, I think for that suspension, I believe you have to be kind of a master of that, and some people are able to pull it off very well, and some people aren't.
Like Mr.
And
Galindo
I feel
Jr.
like they don't panic. I feel like they tried to have that suspension of belief, but they really weren't able to do it.
No.
Yeah.
One of my favorite moments where I was like, why am I obsessing over this? But this is what the movie forced me to do. Was a guy's getting a wife beater. What do we call him now?
An undershirt?
An undershirt.
Just say tank top.
Tank top. A ribbed tank top. But it's hanging up in his closet, and he grabs it from a hanger. And I'm like, who hangs up?
It's his good tank top.
Yeah, they're undershirt tank tops.
It could be those designer ones where they cost Chanel makes one, a plain T-shirt that costs $500.
Andy?
Would you still fold it up though?
I don't think that's right. The movie was.
That's what you're nitpicking in this movie.
Oh my God, I could go.
If you knew how much he paid for that dinosaur top, maybe you would be less judgmental about how many times he wore it in the movie.
Why are all your Corvette posters on your wall all hung up at an angle?
Because he's a child.
Because he's cool, man.
Because he doesn't understand leveling anything.
He's 45.
Yeah, he's a 45-year-old child.
He has vertigo. He can't think these things right.
Well, that's something they need to go take him to the doctor for. Maybe if your hair wasn't so curly, I don't know.
Liked his hair in a campy way.
In a nostalgic way.
Because you like mullet?
He reminded me of that guy from the Blue Lagoon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, hold on, I'll look his name up.
Yeah.
Christopher Atkins.
That sounds right, but I don't know. The guy who came up with the Atkins diet, right?
Christopher Atkins, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely had that. Andy said William Catt.
And I kept confusing him with the dude from Death Spa, which was not correct, but I think I was thinking Witchboard.
Which was also not correct.
I think they all look the same.
She went down a blonde actor rabbit hole.
Like an 80s horror.
It's kind of racist, 80s.
Mullet
like a weird
guy.
kind of Norwegian racism.
Either way, I liked the film. I liked it for its badness, but I don't know if I would ever watch it again.
Right. I'm in the same boat, Louis. I've seen it twice now.
I enjoyed watching it with Joe Bob, though, because I learned a lot more about Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah.
Because he did a very thorough discussion of Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, that's great. But you had that with a Wikipedia art entry.
True.
But you got to have the sugar with the medicine. You know, it's the Mary Poppins technique of learning.
I'm sorry, but sometimes you need that medicine.
Yeah, but
did.
if she's got to have the extra, like the don't panic is the massive amount of sugar that was used to choke down the Cinco de Mayo information.
It's like a Ludens.
Yeah, like a Ludens.
Basically a candy.
It's been more or less candy.
I'm getting to the point that I need my movie hosted or riffed. Otherwise, I'm like can't handle it.
I could start hosting other movies for you.
It's weird because we watch so much Joe Bob. You know, we'll watch William Shatner has some old ones on Prime that we were watching, and
yeah. We have,
we got Elvira on Shudder, and then like we're constantly watching riff tracks, and it's like I don't know how to like raw dog a movie anymore.
So if we go to a movie in a theater, I'm gonna have to stand behind you and like riff on it.
Well, I just watched The Goonies, but Freddy was in my ear the whole time.
Oh, and you also had that guy at the beginning who doesn't move his body but just his head.
He's a very nice man.
Who's like, well, no, but have you ever noticed that like his posture is perfect?
Oh, the host that we introduced in the movie.
He used to be like, well, who was it, Mankiewicz or whatever his name was? That used to do it.
That's different. You're talking about like Criterion and
well, that's what I'm saying is like I'm just giving us an example of the type of person, like a movie host, not just horror movie host, but like if you watch TCM, they always had hosts and stuff.
No, this guy was an animatronic.
This guy was very stiff, but he was clearly someone who was passionate. It was one of those people where you're like, you lived a life studying movies. You didn't live a life learning how to talk about movies, but you're doing awesome anyway.
Good for you, buddy.
Because you're the real deal guy. His hair's so perfectly parted.
Anyway.
I bet he's a serial killer in real life or something. You know? That's the guy who introduced the Goonies. He was very good.
He was great.
Yeah. He was real sweet. He's like, coming to the movies, it's magic, isn't it?
What a fucking revelation this time around that movie was. Sorry, tangent. But fucking Chunk.
Chunk is so good.
That character was that kid. Fucking.
It seemed like you kind of teared up a little bit there.
The way that
he shook his little belly.
He was like a little Lou or he was like an Abbott and Costello throwback.
Yeah.
He was so funny.
So good. Real weird parenting in that movie, but anyway.
It's the 80s.
We're not signing this today, and we're not signing anything ever again. Like when they find the jewels.
Said I found jewels.
The kid found rocks that they have yet to be appraised. And the dad just tears up the contract that the country club's trying to buy their house. But I love his speech.
Yeah.
Like he's given a like they give a great fucking monologue speech to Corey Feldman.
So you're afraid they jump the gun and these are glass, sir.
Well,
yeah, that could be. Well, I'm more concerned about the difference, like what they gave the child actor this awesome speech, and when it gets to the old guy, he's like, "We're not signing it today, and we're not signing anything ever again," and he tears it up. It's so dramatic, but they give all the good words to Corey Feldman, where it's like, "It's our time down here," or is that Sean Astin? Sean Astin who delivers that, because the one I'm thinking of is Corey Feldman saying, "Well, this one's my wish, and I'm taking it back. I'm taking them all back." They give them those lines. Okay. The dad's just like, "We're not signing today."
Well, the movie was about him. It was about the kids.
It was about the kids. They had to be smarter than the parents. It was important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's another level of mastery in the creation of the Goonies that Don't Panic didn't achieve.
Don't panic.
We never bought the kids were smarter than the parents or that anyone was a real person.
I was mad at the mom.
We bought them as kids.
We did buy them as
children. The mom just didn't listen to her kid at all. She just was like, "I'm gonna drug you up."
She was really well put together for a drunk mother, though.
You got to be a fabulous drunk mother.
Oh, that's also part of the trend. They had to be waspy. They had to be a waspy character in the 80s too. Like the mom is drunk because of the pressures of a two working parent household. and like they're in a loveless marriage for years, and
Are you thinking of a Dumb Panic or the Goonies?
either. Although I have a little hope for the parents of the Goonies.
I do too.
Especially Chunk's parents. They seemed all right.
They loved him. They brought him pizza.
They brought him a pizza.
They understand.
They said, yeah, Sloth can live with us.
Oh my God. Okay. Welcome to the end of the show. Louis, I truly had a good time with this one. So, bar is set high. So we'll see what's up next.
Vacations de Terror, right?
Yeah, Vacations. Yeah, it's there's two of them.
Yeah, part 1 and 2.
We're gonna do a double feature.
So we're gonna start 1, then 2.
They're on Tubi, right? Is what I think I saw.
I get.
Wear your teacup.
I got I got it from a DVD.
Oh, okay.
I'm excited because it sounds like a good time. So I'm in.
Yeah, me too.
And Louis,
I believe it's from that director too.
It's from what?
I believe it's that same director.
It's Rene Cardona III.
Okay, yeah. Then it's in that family, so
cool.
Yeah, Santiago Galindo wrote the story.
Yeah.
Next week with Vacations de Terror.
Yep.
And Louis will review The Outwatcher. And we will all be merry and bright. Okay, at the end of every show, we always say hi to our Beelzebubs. Patreon.com/NOTLP if you want to research that on your own time. It's your time.
Your time. Down here.
We're going to start with Alise.
You're going to live with me now, Alise.
Alyssa,
you can move into, we got Baby Ruth's and...
Oh, Andy brought us Baby Ruth's to eat during the movie.
They were so good.
They were very loud, the rapping.
I didn't have one.
Well, you
should next time.
Amy got up after the movie and she was covered in chocolate.
I got up to go to the bathroom and I looked at myself in the mirror and there was fucking chocolate all down the front of me. I'm like, shit.
Baby Ruths do kind of crumble a little bit.
Well, they were the little fun size. Branan and Emily.
Heyo.
You know, to be fair though, I think a woman covered in chocolate is pretty sexy. So
yeah.
Thanks. It did kind of look like poop.
Oh, you're doo-doo woman.
Jeffel. Iona Goodwin.
I own a great one.
Dr. Brian.
Old
Dirty Bilster.
Old Dirty Bilster.
I thought you had a McConnell moment there for a second.
I did Mitch McConnell for a brief moment. But don't worry.
You did him?
Gross. Bill Farner. Frosted Blakes. Blayne Yogurt. Jordache Jeans. Paul. Jeremy, Cassie, and Gamora. Ernie. Dave Siebert. Monica. And Dustin.
Thank you.
Where should the people hunt you down and shake your hand? Digitally.
Twitter.com/Louis Fowler.
Is it still Twitter?
Yeah, and what's that thing called?
The Lost Ogle?
Yeah, the Lost Ogle. Or on Twitter.com. No, I'm sorry.
Instagram?
Instagram.com/Louis Fowler 78.
78. Yep. Cool.
So
thanks so much for 13 years of on 13 years of
podcast bliss
and ecstasy.
I look forward to it every year doing this. I really do. It's so much fun.
And we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thanks, Louis.
Thanks, Louis.
Thanks, guys.
See you next week, Louis.
Bye, listeners. Okay.
Put on